And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Higgs versus Culpepper. Step forward, please.
20-year-old college student Jennifer Higgs is suing former roommate, 18-year-old student Chantel Culpepper, for destroying her personal property. Chantal denies the charges.
Ms. Higgs, you and the defendant had been college roommates. Is that right? There were 3 girls in your suite?
No, there were 4.
According to your complaint, you had the defendant and at least one of the other gals moved out of the suite because you believed that one or both of them were involved in stealing some of your property.
Yes.
That's not what the lawsuit is about. The lawsuit is about some property of yours that was later vandalized.
Yes.
And you believe that the defendant was responsible for that. And there were 4 girls in the room.
Well, it was more like an apartment with 3 bedrooms. I had a single bedroom with myself. Chantal shared a room with Jasmine, and then there was another roommate named Michelle, who had her own room.
Now, there came a time when you found some of your items missing, and then later found your ATM card missing. And when you subsequently went to check, there was some $1,400 missing.
Yes.
Now, what made you think that the defendant and or this other young lady were involved in taking your credit card?
Because that occurred during February of this year. In January, our other roommate, Michelle, had moved out. So basically, it was myself, Chantal, and Jasmine who were in the apartment.
And you made a report of that?
Yes.
To whom?
To the campus police.
What happened as a result of that?
The bank took a while to get back to the detective, and they only keep the video for about a month. And by the time the bank got back to the detective, the tape was already erased.
Well, since there was really no proof that they had taken your credit card, tell me on what authority you believe they were in fact evicted from the apartment.
Well, basically we weren't getting along. Other things became stolen. Shower products were being used. My food was constantly being eaten.
Okay. So they left. Now, what kind of damage was done to your things in the apartment?
The new handle was broken off of my bedroom door. It had been locked when I left. All the wires to the electrical things in my room were cut, like my TV, my PlayStation, my clock radio. Yes, it was actually cut.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Higgs says former college roommate Chantal Culpepper vandalized her property by cutting the cords to her electronic equipment.
When had the girls been evicted from the apartment?
Earlier that day, Chantal was helping Jasmine move her things out, but Chantal's stuff was still in the apartment when they left.
Was the front door to the apartment, was that locked when you came home?
Yes.
Other than the key that you had and that Chantal had and that Jasmine had, did anyone else have a key to your apartment other than management?
No.
Do you have any documentation for me, photographs or anything else?
Yes, I do have photographs.
I'd like to see it, please.
Of the actual night. And I also have police reports.
See the photographs first. Okay, Ms. Culpepper, now I'll hear you.
All right. First of all, we was friends, we was cool, we threw her a birthday party, you know, went out, hung out, everything. We didn't find out about the credit card until housing told us that Jennifer had been going about writing down reports and everything, and we thinking that we was cool, you know what I'm saying? We were just friends.
Let's get to the day that her property came up vandalized.
We wasn't under the impression that her property was vandalized because we had moved, Jasmine had helped me move out later on that night because we was already being kicked out of that apartment due to her saying that we was wasn't getting along.
Are you living together, the two of you?
No.
You still friends?
Yes.
Have you remained friends?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. One of the two of you cut the wires in her room.
No, we did not.
Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. You were angry.
About what?
About what? About being evicted from the apartment. 3 keys.
My wire was cut too.
3 keys. I don't believe that she cut the wires on her own property and broke down her door. The police report indicates that the front door to the apartment, which was opened with a key, was not damaged. The only door lock that was damaged was the door to her room. The only people that were angry about the situation as you've just described. You thought everything was cool, everything was wonderful, and all of a sudden you're evicted with the two of you. The problem is she doesn't know which one of you did it, or which one of your boyfriends did it, or whoever was helping you move did it. She doesn't know that. But it's clear to me that one of the two of you know who did it. No question in my mind, madam.
Okay. But like I
Good.
said, we was moving out that night. Nothing was wrong with the apartment when we left.
So you mean somebody else just went in there?
No, she has the window onto the balcony. Anybody could have broke in there. She could have came in there.
Let me tell you why nobody
don't
did
know.
that except the two of you. Because if they came in to steal something, they would have come in and taken the property. They didn't take it. All they did was vandalize it so she couldn't use it. Now that's done by somebody who doesn't like her. Do we understand each other?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Well then, what year in college are you?
I'm a freshman going on to
Well,
my
maybe
sophomore.
you'll understand when you're a junior. What made you choose this defendant as opposed to suing both of them?
Because with the front door, it actually records whose key was used.
Oh, and what time they used it?
Yes, I have a report from school that shows the times that she entered it. She entered 5 times while I was gone that night.
So that's why you chose her.
Yeah.
Are you user 1 or 2?
I don't know. They never gave me a copy of that. They said that was only for the plaintiff. They never gave me no information on
Well,
nothing.
let me give you this. You
I
are
was
user.
moving that
You
night.
are user 2.
I was moving that night along with Jasmine helping me. So I had to come in and out the door. We are not allowed to keep the door open. So yes, I did use my key. When I came home, my wire was cut off my TV.
Did you make a report of that?
Yes, I did.
When?
May 12th.
The first report that you made that you had vandalized property was May 12th? This happened April 12th.
Okay.
So after they said her room was vandalized, you said my property was vandalized too?
Yeah, that's the whole reason
What
why
I'm
I
saying
moved.
to you is before you knew that her property was vandalized, when you first saw your TV wire cut, did you immediately call housing and say somebody's
No, I did
vandalized
not.
my... Of course not. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $370. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I went to my new apartment. All of a sudden, her wires come up missing and cut and vandalized. That girl knows she did it.
Why would I cut my own cord?
She's gone in the head or something. I don't know why she didn't like it. Who was cool with her.
Anything personal, keep it locked some way real safe because something like this could happen.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeQuilla versus Roden, step forward, please.
20-year-old retail manager John DeQuilla is suing his ex-fiancée, 20-year-old assistant office manager Dawn Roden, for the return of an engagement ring. Dawn says they were never engaged.
Mr. DeQuilla, you are suing for the return of an engagement ring that you claim that you gave to the defendant.
Yes.
Let me hear about it.
Well, Dawn and I were originally together back in September of '99, and we were together until September 17th of 2000. She had gotten married after that, and she was having marital problems around the time of March of 2002, and she came to me. We talked. We were friends for a while. We started seeing each other again March 24th of 2002, and around the time about April 1st, I had proposed to her, and she
was still married at the time.
Yeah, she was. She was going through a divorce.
She wasn't living with her husband.
No, she was not. She was separated. She was living with her grandparents in Lynbrook. I proposed to her. She had accepted. The next day, we had gone to look at rings. We were just going to look, and she eventually talked me into getting an engagement ring. And I purchased the engagement ring and gave it to her that day.
On April 1st?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We were together for about almost 2 months. I was making plans on moving in. I was helping clean up the basement, get everything set up so we can move together. She was going through her custody battle. And I'd say about the second week in May, we'd gotten into a fight. She did throw the ring into my face, and I gave it back to another friend of hers. They called me back about 10 minutes later. They picked me up. We went out. By the end of the night, everything was fine. She had the ring on her finger again, and everything was, we were fine. Not too long afterwards, I had gotten a text message saying, "Don't take this the wrong way. Don't call me. I'll call you. I need some time to think." I gave her about a day or so. I called her back. She said she wanted to see other people. I said, you know, I'll live with her decision. I just wanted my ring back then. And we made an agreement that on our next class, she was going to give me the ring back.
What kind of class?
It was for financial services that we were doing for our licenses.
You were taking this class together?
Yes. We were business partners at the time. And first time she said that she had forgotten the ring. So I said, just bring it to me on our next meeting. And the day that meeting came, she never came. I called her cell phone. Her friend Janine had picked up the phone, said that Dawn was not there. I got a call later back that night saying that the ring was stolen along with her friend's car.
Where did you get the call from?
Dawn. Dawn called me back later that night.
That the ring was stolen?
Yes.
How was it stolen?
The ring was never stolen, Your Honor. There was no ring. Me and my husband had gotten separated. Me and John did remain friends, and that was around March 16th was the day I had separated from my husband. On May 8th, it was a Wednesday night, me and my friend, we went to the meeting in Lindenhurst where he had another one of his friends with him.
What kind of meeting?
It was the meeting for the financial services. It was one of those meetings. We had went back to his house, and he had to drop his friends off at the mall, so we all met back at his house. He then told me that he was going to hang out with us, and then all of a sudden he was saying that he was tired, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're tired, you know, whatever, you know, go inside. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, but first, before I go inside, I want to show you something. He took
And what date was this?
This was on May 8th.
Go ahead.
He then proceeded to take a box out and hand me a ring. I said, what is this? He's like, I want to marry you. And I said, how can I marry you when I'm not even divorced yet? I was still very upset that me and my husband were separated. And I then threw the ring at him right after I had made a 911 call because he would not get out of my car. And my friend and I both heard the ring fall off of his chest where it had landed and hit the ground.
Because you were wearing it later that night, though. That's the odd part.
Shh, don't speak to her.
And after the fact of that, we eventually talked. I hadn't seen him with the ring the rest of the night. And we went to the karaoke bar Backstage, which is located in Woodmere, New York. He then pulled my friend Janine aside, and he had told her everything that happened and how he couldn't find the ring.
Do you have the sales slip for the ring?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? So you say that he gave you this ring on May 8th.
Yes.
He says he gave you the ring on April 1st.
Yes, and we called him.
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, he certainly bought it on April 1st.
May I say one other thing?
Yes.
I have also, we did a financial needs analysis for the company that we do work for, and it is a custom thing to do it. You know, most engaged or married couples will do it, and we did it. It has both of our names on it, and the date of which this is done, and the ring is one of the debts. Her Social Security number is inside of it, and it's needed through her.
Did you fill out this report with him?
Yes, I did. We were going to become business partners.
I asked you whether you filled this out with him.
Yes.
Because it has your information on it.
Yes.
You know what date you filled it out?
I honestly do not.
May 1st. And you say that you threw a ring back at him that he gave you on May 8th.
Yes.
That you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney! Madam, this lists the debt on the ring. Current debt, ring, $1,000, and the payment on the ring. You want to explain that to me, Miss Roden?
At the time that I filled it out, he only asked me my information. I was sitting in the other room with his mother and his aunt who was over at the time. The rest of the information he filled out by himself. I was not sitting at the table with him when he filled out that information.
So what? You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. So what you're suggesting is that he held on to the ring for 5.5 weeks before he gave it to you, right?
Yes.
And then you filled out this application together showing your income, showing your liabilities and everything else, and you knew nothing about the fact that he put in ring monthly bills.
Exactly.
Did you sign this thing? Did you sign it?
On the back of it, yes, I did. I did not.
Get out of here. I don't care whether you lost it, whether you stole it, you're full of baloney. He paid $1,149.55 for the ring. That's what you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I know there was never a ring, and I know it deep in my heart.
A lie, but, you know, I have all my information to prove it, and I did have witnesses to prove it, too.
He was very pressuring towards me.
Be careful, I trust.
He even wanted to get with one of my best friends. Why would I date him?
Totally untrue.
Don't get into something with anybody before you proceed with anything.
Healthcare worker Ann Sanchez is suing her daughter, 25-year-old homemaker Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, for an unpaid car loan and for the return of stolen property. Felicia is countersuing for the return of car payments, assault, and for filing false charges with Child Protective Services.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Ruiz Mendoza. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Sanchez, the defendant is your daughter, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Your cause of action has two parts. One is for car payments that you say you were forced to make when your daughter didn't make payments on a car that she had bought. The second thing is for items of furniture that you bought for her with certain conditions. She reneged on the conditions, and you feel as if she should be responsible for paying for the furniture, or you want it back. So let's deal with the car first. Tell me about this car.
Okay, and she had come back from Alabama in around April, May of 2001. And
How long had she been in Alabama?
About 3-4 months. So she calls me and asks me if I could possibly help her get a car, that she had a job and she needed transportation. So I called my banker and asked him if I could borrow some money to help my daughter buy a car. And he said, well, you already have a $1,500 note now. And I said, well, I said she agreed that if I could borrow the money, that she would also pay what I had owed, you know, just so she could have transportation.
I don't understand that. Run that by me again.
I already owed $1,500. I had a note myself. I asked him if I could borrow an additional $2,700. He said, well, he could combine the two together, and the payments would be $202.29 for 24 months.
Go ahead.
This year in maybe February, March, I don't know when, she had an accident in the car, and her and her boyfriend had gone to Oklahoma, and she left the Oldsmobile down there and abandoned it. So
up until that time, she had made the car payments?
Yes.
And how much was she making in the car payments?
$202.29.
But that also included your note.
Right.
How much were you paying to the bank on your note, Ms. Sanchez?
I think mine was $85 a month.
So she paid $1,105 on your note.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And so when she never did go get the car back, when me and my husband went over, it was a $250 deductible. Plus, I had to have new tires put on it. I had to have it all reconditioned.
And then what'd you do with it?
Well, I sold it on August 15th.
Okay, what did you sell it for?
For $2,200.
$2,200 for the car.
The payoff was $19-something.
Say $1,900.
Mm-hmm.
Now you had to put on new tires. And how much did you spend for new tires?
I spent $217. Then I had to have all new lug nuts on it. They were $32.33.
How many payments did you make for her?
June, July. Because that she had the accident.
$672 so far is what you owe your daughter. That's what you owe your daughter. She didn't owe you. You owe her. Now tell me about the furniture.
Okay, she has called me. She has been to my house already 4 times this year. She's always got an excuse that her and her boyfriend are fighting and all that. And the time before last that she called, she said that he said he loved her, but he couldn't stand her kids. And so she called me crying and asked me if she could come home. And she did. And she promised she wouldn't go back, but she did. So this last time that she came, I told her that I would help her any way that I could. And I had just refinanced my home, and I was going to have some extra money. And I told her, I said, that I will help you get set up in an apartment. I will pay the deposit. I will help you get the furniture that you need to set it up for you and the boys if you're willing to stay here in Gainesville and not go back to him. Oh, I'm not going back, Mom, I promise. So I bought her a sofa and love seat. There was a TV and VCR that was bought. I paid $150 down deposit on the apartment for her. I have all the stuff here.
And then she went back to the boyfriend?
Yes, she did.
So how long did she stay in the apartment that you lived in?
She never moved in, Your Honor. She went and got the cashier's check and cashed it back in for the money.
Did you cash the check that your mother gave you for down payment on an apartment?
No, I put the deposit.
What cash did your mother give you for the apartment?
She didn't give me any cash. I put the deposit. I have the receipt. It's in my name and everything.
Did you
Yes,
give her money?
I wrote her a check, Your Honor, for $150 cash because they wouldn't take a personal check at the apartment complex. I gave her a $150 check. She went to the bank, and while she's in the bank, she filled it out into her name, so that way she could get it back.
I believe your mother. I believe your mother. Don't lie. You know, I mean, so far, you're in pretty good shape. Your mother owes you $672. But don't lie to me, because that makes me feel stupid. Did your mother give you a check for $150?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Your Honor, I love my
Jump
daughter.
up. Just a minute. I got it. I got the drill. No, I got the drill. What other cash did you give her?
I bought the sofa and love suit for her.
Forget about the sofa and love seat. According to what you just testified to me, you said to her, I'm going to help you get set up, but you have to promise me you're not going to go back to this jerk. And she said to you at the moment, I promise you I'm never going to go back to this jerk.
Yes, sir.
The other part of what you would have to say in order to make that kind of an agreement is, that's binding is, and if you go back to him, you must return to me the furniture or the value of the furniture. Do you understand?
Well, I did say that at one time.
Well. But that's not what you told me. You told me what the conversation was with her. How old are your children?
7 and 5.
Now, Mr. Dreamboat, is he the father of either of these children?
No, ma'am.
What kind of work does he do?
Excuse me?
What word didn't you understand that I just said?
He doesn't work.
Does he not work because he is in some way physically challenged?
No, ma'am. He has we're trying to file for disability for him.
So he's in some way physically challenged?
He has to have surgery, but since he's older, he can't have tubes in his ear. He has drainage that cause real bad migraines.
How much older is he than you are?
He's 34.
A 34-year-old unemployed somebody who wants to put drains in his ears because he gets headaches and he can't work. Let me ask you this question. And you know, I've been around the block a couple of times. How many times have you called the police with regard to domestic violence in your home? Make sure that I get a correct answer.
1 time.
It'd take a lot for you to call the police to come to your house because...
No, ma'am.
Really not? You mean there was just a little yelling?
No, he yelled at me and I called the police because he was throwing things.
He was being violent around your 2 children who are how old? 5 and 7.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's not the father of those 2 children.
No, ma'am.
How many times have you had to move away because of him?
2 times.
How old are you?
25.
Do your 5 and 7-year-old sons have the same father?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is he employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he have any communication with the children?
No, ma'am.
Is that by his choice?
Yes, ma'am.
Another idiot. So now you're 24, 25, and have chosen 2 losers that I know about.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. Grow up.
And later today,
All the walls were torn out.
We had talked about it months before.
He said it was the spur of the moment, his exact words.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ann Sanchez says her daughter, Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, owes for an unpaid car loan. Ann says Felicia abandoned the vehicle out of state.
You can't do this anymore. I don't care if you never have a boyfriend the rest of your life. Either that, or take your 2 sons, get down on your knees, beg your mother, say, listen, I made a mistake. Could you please take care of your grandsons? But you're going from one place to another place to another place, going from one loser to another with 2 little boys who are the innocents. Why do you want to do that? I mean, you have a counterclaim that your mother assaulted you when you told her you were leaving again?
I didn't.
I don't even want to hear the story. I don't even want to hear the story. It's a good thing you got a hair left in your head. She doesn't want you, who she loves, or especially 2 innocent grandchildren, to keep going through this migrant lifestyle that you've selected for your children. It's terrible. You made car payments on the car for a year, $200 a month. That's part of your counterclaim. Where can you rent a car for less than $200 a month? Anywhere in the world?
No, ma'am.
Not as far as I know. So you don't get that back. The next part of your counterclaim is that your mother called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably with good cause. From what I hear, and from my life's experience, probably with good cause. You called Child Protective Services?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and what did you tell them?
I told them that I was worried about my two grandsons, that they were living in a real bad area in town, and that both of them had a drinking problem, and they have the kids in the car going up and down the highway all the time. In October 2000, they were also called because the children were left in the house alone while she was out running around somewhere. She had left them in the care of a small little girl.
This 34-year-old with the tubes in his ears, he has a drinking problem?
Yes, they both do.
Both do.
All the time they're drinking. I mean, they don't buy cans, they buy the big quarts.
Your children here today in court?
No, ma'am.
Where are they?
They're at home.
With whom?
With Carlos.
Carlos isn't well enough to be employed, but he's well enough to watch your two sons?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than watching your two sons, does Carlos have any biological children of his own?
Yes, ma'am.
How did, you know that I knew that? So at least there's something about Carlos that works. How old are his children?
He, 12, 11, and 10, or 9.
So this bum isn't paying any child support either because he's got tubes in his ears. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
You better grow up. You made two babies. They are innocent. You're guilty. If you brought them into the world, and you brought them into the world with somebody who's not interested in being their father, then it's your responsibility to be both mother and father to them. And you're not supposed to introduce them to another person who's a bum. You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. But you have two children. And if you want to be a bum magnet, then you have to do the right thing and you have to turn over custody of your children to your mother. I mean, how do you know that Carlos isn't home right now drinking a big brew and sitting around and watching television or doing whatever he's doing? How do you know that?
I don't.
You don't. You don't know whether he's hitting them. You don't know whether he's angry with them. You don't know whether he's locking them in a closet. You don't know whether he's drunk. You don't know what the hell he's doing. And that's better off for your children than being with their grandmother. Grow up! Your counterclaim's dismissed. So is your claim. And I want to tell you something. You have a responsibility. If you believe that your grandsons are being neglected, you have a responsibility to petition for custody in a family court. Now, you may not get it, but if you don't at least take that step and something happens to your grandsons, you're going to be sorry for the rest of your life. Do you understand? That's all. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought the judge was fair. Like I said, it wasn't about money. It was about principle. How, you try to help your children and the way they stabbed you in the back, more or less.
There was no reason for her to bring me here. I didn't owe her anything.
Like Judge Judy said, he's a bum. He's a no-working alcoholic.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of D'Antuono versus Holdren. Step forward, please.
26-year-old hairstylist Stephanie D'Antuono is suing her ex-boyfriend, personal trainer Thaddeus Holdren, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Thaddeus says the money didn't become a loan until they broke up.
Mr. D'Antuono, I've read your complaint. You claim a loan to the defendant who was your live-in boyfriend for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
It was a loan for a car?
Correct.
And any other expenses?
Yes, for work that needed to be done on the car.
Mr. Holdren said there was never a loan. His position is that he played the role of house husband.
Yes.
That you have a child that he took care of, and he was a personal trainer. He gave up some time in order to be able to accommodate your schedule, and there was never talk of a loan until two of you separated. So, when did you start to live together?
We began to live together only after I had given him the loan. It was in August.
Tell me about the loan.
Thaddeus approached me about loaning him some money for a car that he wanted to buy. I had the funds to help him out, and we discussed it in detail.
Well, what were the details?
How he had to pay me back. There was no confusion as far as...
Well, no, don't tell me there was no confusion. Just tell me what the agreement was. You said it was very specific, so tell me the agreement.
I agreed to loan him the money if he agreed to pay me back in full.
Is that as specific as it went?
Pretty much, yes.
Go ahead.
He agreed to pay me within a certain amount of time.
Well, that's more specific. What was the amount of time?
A couple of months.
Okay.
And when he didn't, he told me he was having some problems and wasn't going to be able to pay me at that certain time. So I was upset, but I agreed to allow him more time if he would give me payments. Whenever he had money, if he could give me
some cash or, you know, whatever he was able to do.
So?
So he didn't. He failed to pay me.
When did you move in with him?
He moved in with me.
When did he move in with you?
That was about a year later.
So 1 year later, he's made no payments on this loan, and then you move in together.
Well, he...
Just answer my question.
Sorry. Yes, that's right.
Okay. And you lived together for a year?
No, we did not. We only lived together for about 2.5 months.
Your Honor, a little bit longer than that.
He was at my house on a regular basis, but he did not live there.
Fine. When did that start?
Probably around the time that I gave him the loan. You know, he was staying there maybe a couple nights a week.
More than a couple nights, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
It's over 2 years since this loan was made.
Yes.
And over that period, you have not gotten any payments.
He did pay me $150.
When?
In April of 2001.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know if it was 2001, but I paid her $150. But that's not including everything I did for her and her son. You know,
What did you give her $150 for, Mr. Holdren?
Because, I mean, if I'm with her, or living with her, whatever, I expect to do something, you know. I mean, taking care of her son and taking care of stuff around the house and stuff.
That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Holdren. What was the $150 for?
Just for her.
Well, tell me how that came about, the $150 payment.
She gave me the money and things happened. Hold on.
Mr. Holdren, you're trying to think about the right answer. I don't want you to think about the right answer, sir. I want you to think about the truthful answer. You said to me, I gave her $150 when I asked you what it was for. You did a song and dance. Now, I'm asking you the circumstances surrounding you giving her this $150 in March.
Well,
if you say I don't remember what it was for or the surrounding circumstances around it, I will understand that.
Well, I gave her money a couple times, so the $150 is like me giving her money on a regular. I mean, not on a regular, but I gave her money, you know, like any other boyfriend would do. It wasn't like I was giving her $2,000 or you know what I'm saying, like big money, but
Do you remember the circumstances surrounding the $150 payment? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Then tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned him.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you. If you don't remember, say it. If you remember, tell me.
I don't remember.
Did he give you any other money during the course of your relationship over the last 2 years?
He paid me $100 after our relationship had ended. This was this past April.
What was the $100 for?
For payment from the loan that I gave him.
Did you give her $100 after you separated?
Yes.
For what?
That was for part of her thinking that I owed her all that money. So $100.
That was
part of me owing her the money.
That was part of her thinking that you owed her the money from the loan?
Right.
Oh, good, that makes it easier. So you did, Mr. Holdren, make a payment to her for this $2,000 loan.
Right.
And you made at least one payment. Is that right?
Right.
And that was made within the past year or so?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to allow you in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Holdren, explain to me why this was not a loan and you don't owe her any money.
Okay, I'll start off with this. We made an agreement when we met. Well, after we met, she has a son. He's 4, well, he was 4 at the time. And her job is very demanding, and she has different hours every day, like early in the morning sometimes and late in the evening sometimes. And her son goes to school early in the morning. She couldn't take him to school, so I would take him to school, get him up, get him dressed, pick him up from daycare, bring him back with me, and wait till she gets off, and he'd hang out with me, whatever, for the period of time, whatever day it was.
So I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I did everything. I was like a kindergarten cop with him. This whole thing to me is just like she was pimping me through the whole thing. Like, you know, she's my female pimp.
That's a nasty thing to say.
That's how it was, because I was doing everything, but she still just seemed like I owed her this whole $2,500.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Holdren. How much rent did you pay?
I didn't pay rent at her house.
How much did you contribute on a regular basis for food for the house?
Depending if I went out to eat or...
No, in the house.
Little.
How much did you contribute regularly towards the utilities?
None.
So you were basically living rent-free. You had no expenses.
Your Honor, I have my own apartment, too.
Where is your apartment?
At the time, it was on the other side of town from where she lived at, on the west side.
Which side is nicer? Her side.
Yeah.
Mr. Holdren, anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just felt like I don't owe her the whole $2,500. I mean...
So you don't think you owe her the whole $2,500?
Right.
Tell me what part of the $2,500 you think you owe her.
It would really be hard to say because...
Well, I want you to think hard. I mean, it was your statement that I don't owe her the whole $2,500.
I don't know because the time that I put into the relationship, not only with her, but her son too, it was like I couldn't really tell because I was working in the morning and in the afternoon, and my schedule was flexible because I was a trainer. So I, arrange it where, I could make it a better...
Mr. Holdren,
yes.
What part of the $2,500 do you think you should be given credit for, sir?
I don't know.
So I guess you'll have to leave it up to me, right?
Well, I was hoping you'll feel my side of the story as far as me taking care of her son and everything. Because
no, Mr. Holdren, I'm going to make it very, very easy for you, sir. If there is a contract that provides, even an oral one, that you loaned me this money for the car, and I'm going to work it off by taking care of your son at $1.75 an hour while I'm taking care of him, that will be my contribution, so we're going to take that off the car loan. That's an agreement. But after the fact, you don't make that sort of an agreement. You don't sit back there and scratch your head and say, well, I did all these things for her. Therefore, I shouldn't have to owe her that much on what was originally a loan. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's just a lot of double talk that you're doing for me now. $2,500 was the original loan, and you paid her $250. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that she could see through Thaddeus's lies.
I felt that I shouldn't have to pay that whole amount.
His excuses for why he wasn't paying me.
I felt that I owed her a little bit, but not that much.
I just got tired of his irresponsibility.
I would have paid her a little bit, but whole $2,000 for the work that I did.
It was always, I'll loan you, I'll give you money when I get it.
I did do a lot for her and her son.
I finally realized he was never going to pay me back unless I did something about it.
That's how things go.
Not to do it again.
Real estate broker Karen Hesevich is suing Richard Boudreau and Mary Whitney for making a false complaint to her employer and causing her to be fired.
Order. All rise. Hello. Okay. Yeah, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter Hesevich versus Boudreau Whitney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Hesevich, it is your complaint that because of the defendant's conduct in reporting certain behavior that really never happened on your part, that you lost your job. You want to be compensated for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the defendants say that they had some business dealings with you. They found your conduct unacceptable. They reported that to your boss, and they had a legitimate right to do that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What kind of business were you in?
I sold gutter cover to keep debris out of gutters.
And how long had you worked for them?
About 4 or 5 months.
How did you find the defendants, or they found you?
They called in, I think, on a radio ad.
Is that true?
That's correct, Your Honor. Yeah.
Okay. What happened that caused you to call and make a complaint about the plaintiff?
Your Honor, basically it was just Karen's behavior. We were very interested in the product. It looked very good. And I expressed to her in the beginning.
Tell me what the product looks like.
It's actually a sheet metal device that goes over your gutter to deflect the needles and leaves off the gutter and allow the water to go in. Awesome product. Anyhow, we were very interested in the product. Karen came out to the house. We asked her to do an estimate. She left me with a tape and a sample of the product. I expressed to her that I wanted my wife to see the tape because she wasn't home at the time.
What date was that?
I believe that was the Saturday, the 24th, I believe was that was the date, yeah. Anyhow, she expressed to me that she needed the tape back. It was her last tape. I clearly understood that and promised her we'd get it back to her. My wife got home late that evening, didn't get a chance to view the tape. The next day, she did, which was a Sunday. We in turn decided at that point that we had some friends that would be interested in the product as well. So we figured we'd hang on to it till Monday and get it back to her. Over the weekend, Karen left several nasty grams on my telephone, on my cell phone, expressing her desire to get the product back.
The tape back.
Right. Come Monday, she made a phone call or two to the house, which my wife, Whitney, answered, and she can tell you basically what took place there.
She called me on the phone and she says, I really need to get my tape back. And I said, well, I got a friend that owns a gutter company, and I wanted to let them see it to see if they thought it was credible, that it might work. And she goes, well, I really need to get my tape back. I says, well, do you only have one tape? She goes, yep, I only have one tape. I go, well, okay, fine. I said, come get it. And she did.
On what date did she come?
It was on Monday. Monday evening.
Which would have been the 26th, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what
26.
happened when plaintiff came and got the tape?
At that point, Your Honor, I'd arrived home from work, and I got a knock on the door, and it was Karen. She was obviously upset. I said nothing at first, went and got the tape, handed it to her, and said, I apologize that you didn't get it back as quick as you wanted based on the messages I retrieved. She was obviously upset. She got cranky with me and, grabbed it out of my hands and was obviously not real happy about the whole thing. And I said, Karen, the product that you're representing is awesome. I love it. We're interested in it. But the way you're treating me, I'm not going to buy anything from you. Her response was, I don't want to sell you anything. And I said, fine. Then I asked her to leave or I'd call the police. Now, several days went by, and I got a subpoena served to our house, and it referred to a Bruce Hesevic was suing us for something. Now, I never met a Bruce. I haven't got a clue who Bruce was. So I was shocked. I didn't know what it was all about. In doing further research, I recognized the last name, which is on the back of her flyer, Hesevic and then Karen. So
What kind of subpoena did you get?
I got a small claims subpoena that said my wife and I, who she never met, Your Honor, were being sued for loss of income, libel, malicious behavior, slander, and so on.
May I see it, please?
Sure.
Now, in between during that week's period of time, had you in fact called the plaintiff's employer?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you left that part out.
I beg your pardon,
sir.
ma'am. I did call the gutter people. I spoke to Mr. Steve, and I expressed my interest in this product. And I said, a lady named Karen came to our house to show your product over the weekend, left us a tape. We wanted to view the tape for a longer period of time. She took it back, was very upset with me for keeping it. Can you please send me another tape? And he said, well, you're saying Karen? And I'm saying, yes, Karen. He says, well, I have no Karen working for me. He goes, there is a Bruce that works for me in that area. You sure it wasn't a man? I says, no, it was a lady named Karen. Fine, I'll send you a copy of the tape. Then a short while after that, we had a sheriff come to our house looking for us. We weren't there. We were at a PTA meeting. My boys told us.
And then you got served with
Served
this.
after, yep. Okay. And then I went down to the courthouse and filed for a jury trial, figuring I'm going to get this thing out in the open.
Okay, now I got you.
Bingo.
And it would be fair to say that in your conversation with Mr. you voiced some displeasure with the salesperson.
Absolutely.
You did. You said, I don't like the way I'm
Absolutely,
being treated. I didn't like the way I was treated.
No, I'm a sales manager, Your Honor, and I think when you want to make a sale, you're nice to people.
Bruce and Karen, same person?
Yes.
Okay, so that's both you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you went to work for this gutter cover company, did you interview with this Mr.?
Yes. I actually did sales before I ever met him, and then...
For the same company?
Yeah, I was working for the previous franchisor, and he came down after that. I sold several deals before that.
When you interviewed and worked for them previously, you worked for them as Bruce.
Right.
To your knowledge, did this Mr. know that you were also Karen?
We had talked about it. I called the office and said that there would be a person as Karen out there, and that my hair was long, and that people do see me as a woman.
You intend to maintain that persona?
Yes.
My problem, Ms. Hesevic, is that you seem to ascribe some behavior to the defendants, which is actionable. Why do you believe that they do not have a right to call your employer and say, I'm dissatisfied with the kind of treatment that I got from your rep. I like the product. I'm interested in buying the product. And if your employer decides, for whatever reason, to let you go, why do you feel as if you have the right to sue the defendants?
Because when I talked to Steve on Tuesday, he told me that the severity of their complaint against me was such that he had to believe that they were telling the truth. I told him they were not telling the truth, and then I told him exactly what happened. And as she said, she told me to come out and pick up the tape. On the phone call, she did not say that. She hung up on me. And I have copies of the phone call that was made to him. He said I made several threatening phone calls.
You went out there to get the tape?
Yes.
No, I said
What
nasty grams. I didn't say phone call.
Nasty grams?
Yeah, on my cell phone.
When you went out there to get the tape, tell me what happened.
Well, I got out of my car. Their kids yelled from the top of the deck that the lady from the gutter is here. And I heard her yelling at her kids, I don't want to talk to her. Tell them to go down to the basement door and talk to the father. And so they came out and told me that. So I went around under the deck into the basement door that they have there. He opened the door part way and handed me the tape, and he said some remarks to me. And I said, well, you promised to have it back to me by 5 p.m. on Saturday. I said, you never called? He said, oh, yes, I did, but I was at home. from 3 o'clock all the way till 10 o'clock at night. There wasn't one phone call. I have a message machine on my machine.
There you go. That's why you didn't answer it.
And
sorry.
No messages were even left.
Nope. That's
So?
true.
So, yeah.
So?
And, yeah, so he didn't call to say he wasn't going to meet me. He could have left a message machine on there. He knew that the
So what
tape
did you
was
say to
important.
him?
He made some comments, and then I told him that I had to use that for sales, and that as he knew I had appointments on Monday morning, I didn't get the tape till 7 o'clock Monday night.
And?
So he says, well, you're losing more business.
You forget the golden credo,
yeah,
which is the customer's always right.
Want me to deliver the damn tape? I'm sorry.
The customer's always right. Because you had a real live customer there. You had a customer who was really interested in your product.
$6 grand.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
that's a hothead. Let me ask you this question. Why didn't you call Gutter and have them give you another tape?
I had sent a memo up to him on Monday morning saying that I need another tape.
Why didn't you go there?
Oh, they're out of Seattle, and I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, so they have to send it to you.
Yeah.
Why did you wait until you were down to your last tape?
I only had one tape all the time.
Well, that sounds like a not very good policy. What happens if that
that's
tape?
all the company gives.
Well, that's kind of stupid.
Right, yeah.
You don't have a cause of action, Ms. Hesvik. He has an absolute right to call the company and say, I don't like her attitude. I don't like the way she spoke to me. I was interested in your product. I'm still interested in your product. He's not trying to put one over on these people. He's calling and saying, listen, your lady who you sent out here was rude. She took off. She doesn't want to do business with me. I'm still interested in doing business with your company. Send me another tape and send me another rep. And if by virtue of that statement, Mr. let you go as the rep for the company in your area, so be it. It may also have been that Mr., and I don't know, he's not here, was not happy about not knowing what gender person was going out. He thought it was one gender, and it turned out to be a different gender. That's possible, too. That coupled with what they said, listen, I don't need this aggravation. But they have a right to call.
Yes.
They have a right to make a complaint. That's what the First Amendment's all about. So your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically what happened as a result of this individual not being honest.
Some people can lie and get away with it.
Honesty is the best policy. You know, she should have been honest, and she wasn't.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cannon versus Coughlin, step forward, please.
Pilot David Cannon is suing ex-girlfriend Jennifer Coughlin for the return of his 52-inch television set. Jennifer says David gave it to her when he was drunk.
Mr. Cannon, Miss Coughlin is your former girlfriend, and you say she has a television set, a big one, that belongs to you.
Yes, ma'am.
She says the television was a gift. And I find the story behind how you got this television set sort of interesting. I want to make sure I get it right. So why don't you tell me how you got the television set, sir, and when?
It was Super Bowl Sunday. We had decided to go to this place called Boston Pizza. We had just broken up recently and decided that day actually to get back together.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Don't interrupt.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Pilot David Cannon is suing ex-girlfriend Jennifer Coughlin for the return of his 52-inch television set. Jennifer says David gave it to her when he was drunk.
Go ahead.
So we went over to the bar. My next-door neighbor was joining us. He joined us a little later. During the game, I was talking to this gentleman next to me, and he was a Patriots fan. I was a Rams fan. Unfortunately, he was the happier one at the end of the night. Patriots won. They were giving away a TV at the end of the night, and the gentleman won it. And I was like, he lived in Boston, and I was like, you can't take that TV back with you. Why don't you just give it to me? He goes, well, if you pay my tab, my bill, I'll let you have the TV. So I was like, well, that's a deal. Because it's like a $2,000 TV, and I paid the tab. It came to like $150. And we were excited, and I was excited about getting back together with her. And I said, well, why don't we just take the TV over to your place, because that's where I always stayed anyway when we were together, and we could all enjoy it, you and your kids. And in the heat of the moment, I kind of said, well, I'll just give it to you, why not? And my next-door neighbor, as we were taking it out, told me that I was nuts, and as we were driving over there and got it up and set up in her apartment, I realized that he was right, and I told her as much, and I said, I can't just give this to you. It's too big of a gift. Why don't we just keep it here? We can all enjoy it. You know, and I'll be here for at least another year, and, you know, we're back together, and, you know, life is good, flowers and happiness and joy. And, and she agreed to it. She said, okay. And my next-door neighbor was there to witness it. He works for the state of Texas, and he was not able to come this week. But I have an affidavit if you want to read it. I didn't think you would, but I tried. So 2 weeks later, we get into some kind of argument. She says she wants to break up. I said, I want my TV back then. She goes, no. I went out and got the warranty in my name. It's my TV now. Tough luck.
Your version.
It's quite different than that. We were sitting at Boston's in Louisville watching the Super Bowl, and we befriended the man in question that originally won the television. And Mr. Cannon here was quite drunk. When the TV was won by him, he looked at us and said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you guys because I can't take it back to Boston, obviously. And he got up and announced to the whole entire bar that he was giving it to me. And his neighbor loaded it into his truck, brought it to my apartment that evening. And I also had some neighbors of mine help bring it up the stairs. And he told everybody who would listen that he was giving it to me, and he was so wonderful. I had done so much for him while we were together. I had loaned him money, this, that, and the other, and that he was giving it to me as a gift. And I did register the warranty in my name, which proves his verification of ownership from RCA, and I told him that I had done that. And he did say at one point, well, I was really drunk and I didn't know what I was doing, so I should probably just go ahead and, you know, just let you borrow the television. And I said, no, you don't do that. Called him a few choice names, and that was the end of it. I didn't hear from him again until April when he filed the case.
Mr. Cannon, describe this television.
It's a 52-inch big screen TV, RCA.
And what size television do you have now in your apartment?
Probably about 25-inch. I have the receipt from Boston's regarding the bill that I paid. I paid the guy's bill to get the TV.
I believe that. Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
I also believe you just gave her the television set. You were drunk. According to you, we were getting back together that day. You wanted to be very magnanimous. So it doesn't ring true that once you got the television up to her house, you would say to her, after having a whole day of drinking and being in a reasonable mood since you're getting back together with this lady that you are crazy about, listen, maybe it would be just a good idea if I let you borrow it. But you had already given it to her. She had already made arrangements and gotten people to move it up to her apartment.
Well, there wasn't anything arranged. We just kind of loaded up in my next-door neighbor's truck and went over
took it there to her house because you had given it to her as a gift.
No, I originally said, let's just take it over to your house, because I didn't have any room in my house.
What do you mean you don't have any room in your house?
We already had two TVs, and her place was closer, and her TV was terrible.
So you gave her a TV. Let her enjoy it along with her kids. Goodbye.
All right.
Excuse. You may step out.
Can't use drunk as being an excuse.
She lied on the stand. I hope she lived with herself for the rest of her life, having perjured herself.
I did not lie on the stand, and this is what was fair.
When you win something that expensive, just keep it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morin versus Baird. Step forward, please.
Photo technician Joanne Morin is suing her ex-fiancé, construction plans examiner James Baird, for the cost of a cruise ticket. James is countersuing for the return of a suit and for the cost of a vasectomy.
All right, Bert, I've read the papers in this case. Don't get comfortable. We're not going to be long. Okay. Miss Morin, you and the defendant dated. You were supposed to go on a cruise together. You couldn't go because a relative, I think your father, became ill. The defendant went with two of his children, but your son had paid for the cruise ticket. In any event, you say that he owes you $200. He says, more than happy to give you the $200, right? Give me back my suit that I left at your house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the suit?
Yes, ma'am.
Give him the suit, Bert. I told you, this case has lots of little parts, but we're going to handle them all very quickly. Good. Now you have your suit. The suit goes on your side, and plaintiff gets $200. Are you happy? Good. On your side, you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Your counterclaim is twofold. A, you wanted your suit back, you got your suit. You want her, A, to give you back the engagement ring.
Oh, the money for it, yes.
Where's the engagement ring?
I have it with me right here.
Perfect.
You want to see?
No. Goes to his team. Happy now? Almost.
Almost.
The other part you're not going to even be happy that you raised, sir. You want her to pay for a vasectomy that she insisted that you have because she didn't want any more children.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Did she grab you by the hand and take you to the doctor?
No, she...
Very good. Then you don't get paid for the vasectomy. You're over 21, you made a choice. If you don't like the choice, you'd have to live with it or get it reversed. Goodbye and good luck. That takes care of this.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
Actually made a lunch date with his brother to discuss the vasectomy. He discussed it more with his brother than he had with me.
I tried to avoid the whole situation, and it wasn't avoidable.
I think the worst part about the whole thing is that innocent people had gotten hurt because of our actions.
When you fall in love with somebody and they want you to have an operation, I think you ought to think twice.
Nursing student Billy King is suing her former live-in boyfriend, machinist Tim Palmer, for damages to her home as the result of an assault. Billy also claims Tim put flour in the gas tank of her car.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Hello. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 230 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Palmer. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. King, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. You claimed two things. First, that he damaged your home while he was in a rage. And second, that he caused some damage to your car when he put some stuff in the gas tank.
Yes.
How long were you a couple?
It was about 2 months before we decided to move in together.
And how long did you actually live together?
About 2.5 months.
Did you move into his house, or did he move into yours, or did you take a place together?
We actually moved into a place together.
So you moved in together, and what happened on the night in question, which was?
November 21st.
What year?
Of last year, 2001.
Okay, go ahead.
It started out with him, he went to Pool League that night.
You went what?
To Pool League. He was on a pool team. And he had come home a little later than usual. I was already in bed. And I got up and was asking him, you know, what had taken so long. Usually he came directly home.
What time did he get home?
It was probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock.
And what time had he usually come home?
Around 11.
You didn't just ask him. Let's be honest.
Oh, I was a little angry, but at the same time, we had a pretty open relationship as far as he had his life, I had my life.
Okay, so you were angry?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And he got very defensive immediately. And he was sitting on the couch, and we were actually arguing back and forth. And he stood up really fast and grabbed the coffee table and threw it end over end, and it shattered everywhere. It was a mirror coffee table. And just completely went on a rage from there. He grabbed the leg from the coffee table, threw it through the TV. I immediately ran to the bedroom and tried to shut the door. He was right behind me. He slammed the door open so hard that the hook on the back of the door actually went into the wall. That's when it started to get physical. There was a knife about this long that was hanging on the wall next to our bedroom door, and he was threatening to pop the waterbed. And I was screaming, I can't afford that kind of damage, you know that. And he started pointing the knife at me. He stabbed it through the bedroom door. It went through the door into the wall. He threw the knife at me. It landed right next to my head, and there was actually a perfect imprint of the knife in the wall. You could see the handle, the knife itself. He turned around and got very aggressive with me and put his hands around my neck. That's when I started kind of flailing, and I punched him in the side of the head. He carried me across the room by my neck, threw me through the door, and I landed on the linen closet, which was right outside of the bedroom wall. He put his fist through the wall. I ran into the kitchen. I picked up the phone. I dialed 911. He was right on top of me, grabbed the phone from me and hung it up and started screaming at me, you're going to call the police, you're going to call the police on me, you know I have a warrant. Grabbed the phone from me, threw it on the ground, it shattered. He put his hand through the back screen wall, which is when he cut himself. Immediately started bleeding all over the place. I ran back into the bedroom trying to get away from him. He followed me in the bedroom. We went outside because my children were home. I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old that were hiding in their bedroom. So I went outside, locked myself in the car, assuming that the police would be on their way because I dialed 911. He was in my face in the car. I ran back inside trying to lock him out, and he He took off after that. Hid in the bushes for about 3 hours. They looked for him with K9 and took pictures of my house. And I actually have the police report.
I'd like to take a look at the police report and the photos if you have them.
I was not able to get the photographs from the police department, but I also have a copy of the security and cleaning and the damage deposit from my landlord. I've moved out of the house and they had obviously tons of damage to fix the house. Here's a breakdown of what everything cost, not including what I fixed myself.
Go ahead.
I have a slightly different version, Your Honor.
So did she when the police came that night.
I came home that Tuesday night from pool league. It was a little bit later. I'd stayed and shot pool with my friends after league ended. Before I'd even made it to the door, she came out the door screaming at me, "Where you been?" Just going off on me. I came in for about 10 minutes of that screaming. As I was getting ready for bed, I called her an explicit name. "Look, you dumb. Can I just please go to bed? I got to work in the morning." That's when I got punched in the head twice. And after that is when I started to tear the house up.
That's what she forgot to tell me. That's in the police report that she told the police that she hit you first.
That's when I started to.
Yeah, how come you forgot? You told me about all the things that happened, the coffee table and the glass and everything else. How come you left out the fact that after he called you a name, which was not a nice thing, you punched him in the forehead?
No. That's actually incorrect. I did punch him.
Behind the ear, Your Honor.
I did punch him. That was when he had his hands around my neck.
No.
When I
No.
Your Honor, when I pushed him,
That's not what you told the police.
I pushed him on the forehead. There was actually a prior incident with another girlfriend, and he had called her the same name, and she had smacked him on the forehead with a frying pan for calling him that name.
Listen to me.
I did push him in the forehead. He was sitting on the couch. I forgot to, I don't remember a lot of things from that night simply because...
Well, you remembered a lot of detail you told me before, but the one thing you didn't remember was that the first person to use any physical force was you.
Yeah, but...
The first person that put hands on was you.
It was...
And his reaction to putting hands on was to deal with furniture, not to deal with you. He threw over the furniture, he put his hand through a wall, he got angry.
He also...
Speak not.
Okay.
Go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just a minute, there's a fly in here. It's irritating me. If I had the proper equipment, I could have done it. Bird, don't be frightened.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Billy King says former live-in boyfriend Tim Palmer destroyed her apartment and then beat her up in a fit of rage. Tim says Billy started it by punching him in the forehead.
Okay, go ahead.
It escalated from there, and I did tore the house up a little bit.
You did?
I've got a copy of the damages here. I highlighted the ones that I caused.
Okay, so did you pay for the ones that you caused?
No, I just replaced the TV of hers that I broke the very next day with the phone that I allegedly smashed on the ground.
Just a minute, you replaced the TV how, sir?
I took the broken one out and put one in there that worked.
Who has that TV now?
She does.
Is that right?
No.
Just a minute, there's a fly in here. It's irritating me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then that was on November 21st. We stayed together for another month after that. I went to...
Just a minute. Don't get me off the track. This
I'm
fly
sorry.
isn't getting me off the track. I want to know where the TV is. He said he bought a new TV. I absolutely believe him that he replaced the TV.
He actually didn't buy a TV. His best friends were our neighbors, and they had a broken TV that they were keeping in the garage. Took 20 minutes for it to warm up, and they allowed me to borrow that TV. And when I offered to give it back, they told me to throw it away.
I gave him $50 and a $100 cordless phone for that TV. It was not broken.
You watched TV afterwards on a TV after this incident when you stayed together and tried to patch things up. Hold on a second.
Yes. Good job.
Go ahead. If I had the proper equipment, I could have done it.
For a month after that, we were together. I went to see my father over Christmas, and she had a problem with that. Cashed one of my unemployment checks while I was gone, signed my name to it, and cashed it at her place of business. Then New Year's Eve, she took off at 11:15, got back at 4 in the morning. I left when she got home because her
Sounds
kids
as if
were
it
there.
wasn't a marriage made in heaven. Listen to me. How much of the damage did you cause?
$135, Your Honor.
And how much are you being billed?
Oh, excuse me?
Miss King.
$2,100 and 20.
Let me see.
I'm also liable for half of the re-rent fee and advertising.
And how much is that?
That's $275 and $21 are the two totals on that.
I'd also like to point out that we were not working it out after that.
I don't care whether you were or you weren't. I want to see what the landlord lists as damage.
They're the same thing. Mine are just highlighted what I caused.
We'll take care of it.
Huh?
We'll take care of it. You fly.
There's also rent.
I moved out in January. She moved out in July.
Was your rent up to date at that time?
Yes, it was.
No,
that late
it was
charge
not.
was.
What about security deposit?
We split that.
I paid the $500 security deposit, which in turn takes care of the $725 that I owed in the back rent minus $200.
Why would you have paid all of the security deposit?
Because when we moved in together, he was not getting paid that much money. He pays an enormous amount of child support because he's about $20,000 behind.
Did you give her half of the security deposit?
Yes, I did. It was $250.
Who paid it? By check?
We paid cash to the landlord, and it had to go on one person's name, so we just used hers.
Your Honor, the reason that we paid cash was because at the time I was working at a pawn shop, and I had a rather expensive ring. And I ended up getting rid of the ring so that we could afford the house.
Let me explain something to you. No court is going to waste their time going through this kind of minutiae with people who choose to live together and test the waters to see if the relationship is going to work. There are certain things that are reasonable. I'm not getting into the $5 here and $10 there and even $50 someplace else. Bird, don't be frightened.
All right.
Thank you, thank you. I hope that was an endangered fly.
I doubt it.
Well, there are those things out here in California. Gotta be careful.
Your Honor,
in any event, there is certain damage that he caused. There's no question that there's certain damage that he caused. Late fees were, I mean, I don't know about this. Re-rent fee is $275. Advertising fee is $21. Certainly he lost his cool. Fair statement?
Fair statement, Your Honor.
Good. You lost your cool to the tune of $500. Now, what proof do you have that he actually put flour in the gas tank of your car? Which is the second part of your claim.
I have a couple of things actually to prove that. I have a receipt from the people who initially fixed my car. I had it towed on.
I have no doubt that somehow your car was vandalized. What proof do you have that the defendant did it?
The night that it happened, it was January 12th. We had separated in November, and I had a date that night with my witness. We had gone out. We came back to my house. We had been friends for quite a while, and so we came back to my house. The children were not there, and decided that he was going to stay at my house that night. You know, no big deal. Throughout the night, Mr. Palmer called a couple of times. I told him, you know, the same thing. I wasn't interested in seeing him or talking to him. He had already given me his house key. He did not have access to my house. He was not supposed to be there. He was actually waiting for me at the next door neighbor's house. He had explicit details of what we were doing in the living room because he was watching us through the window. When we decided that it was late enough and we were going to go to bed for the evening, he broke in through the front door, said, "Not in this house, not in this house," and walked right into the bedroom and left, went to his friend's house, called the police, and was going to immediately take back all the things that he said that he was going to give me because he didn't want them anymore. He was so broken up about our relationship that he didn't want his water back.
Okay, so let's get to the flour in the gas tank.
It was a locked garage. I had extra supplies in the garage. The following day, there was a bag. That's how I knew what it was. There was a bag of flour sitting in the middle of the garage. I actually had to break into the garage at a later date because he wouldn't give me the key. He's the only one that had the key to that garage. And the flour was rummaged out of the box.
You have the key to the garage. How are you going to get your car out?
I didn't leave my car in the garage. I just had belongings in my garage.
So where was the car?
Sitting right in my driveway, right next to the house.
Okay.
He knew,
So?
I mean, it was, we had been sitting on the couch talking and being intimate with each other for about 2 hours, and he knew things that we were talking about at the beginning of the evening.
So what you're telling me, because he was angry, you assumed, because he was angry, you assumed that he vandalized your car.
It was the following morning that I got up to go to work. It lasted about 6 blocks. My car died. I had it towed, and there was...
So that's what you're telling me. You're telling me that because he was so angry, you assumed that it was him.
Yeah, it would be pretty difficult or very coincidental that it would be somebody else.
I agree with you.
Tony saw him come in.
I agree with you.
He was the one that called the police.
I agree with you. So far, you've been reasonably honest with me, Mr. Palmer. You've been reasonably honest with me about the damage that you caused. You've been reasonably honest with me about everything else, and you haven't been a loser. You haven't been a loser because I try to be reasonable. Did you put anything in the gas tank of the car?
No, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, I had a key to the front door because we were supposed to go out that night, and I knew something was up when she canceled with me. I came by the house about 1 o'clock in the morning. As I'm walking up to the door, the curtains are open.
What were you go?
I
Mr.
see
Palmer,
them
Mr.
on
Palmer.
the couch.
What'd you go there 1 o'clock in the morning for?
Because I knew she was fooling around on me, and that was my waterbed in the house. And when they were on the couch, I was all fine with it. That's how she wants to be. That's how she can be. But when they moved into my waterbed, that's my personal property, I wasn't going to have it. You need written consent to be in my waterbed, pretty much. So I let myself in the door and said, not in my waterbed, everybody else. And the police came and stood by while I drained my waterbed, and I left the same time the police did that night. They stood by for 2 hours while I drained my waterbed and took it apart and moved it next door.
But it
wasn't happening in my bed.
Doesn't that sound like a big baby to you? You took police officers who should have been out on the street taking care of important business.
They actually commended me for keeping my head.
I'm speaking.
Sorry.
Making sure that people's homes are safe, that there aren't muggers in the street, that people aren't getting raped. And you had them stand there for 2 hours while you drained your waterbed so your former girlfriend wouldn't...
They stood by to make sure it didn't turn into a bloodbath, I think.
It shouldn't have turned into a bloodbath. You should have gone home, taken a cold shower, gotten into your bed and said, listen, I got to deal with this like an adult. You went over there at 1 o'clock in the morning.
My name was on the lease. I had every right to be there.
Mr. Palmer, you're being a big baby. And the name you called her is not a nice name. And if you called your old girlfriend that name, it wasn't nice to call your old girlfriend that name. Did you get hit over the head by your old girlfriend?
That was a different name I called her. And I fully deserved that one.
Your Honor, one of the most important
Just
things...
a second. I want to see the information that you have from your mechanic.
These are... One of the receipts is missing, so I had to make a statement about some of the things that he had done for me. There were towing fees. There's...
Just a second.
And that car has a locking gas cover.
Not anymore. The gentleman that worked on my car fixed it the first time. It was running fine. Then it broke down.
Listen to me. You can't testify for somebody else, and neither can the person who fixed this car.
Right, that's why I had to make that statement. But he had told me it had to have happened on 2 separate occasions. There was no way after he drained and cleaned the tank the first time that the car could have done what it did again unless somebody had put flour in the tank again.
Probably right, but that's not evidence that I can hear.
Okay.
From you. Okay. He owes you $500 that he's going to pay you back for damaging the apartment and also the advertising fee. He lost his temper. You hit him first.
Your Honor, I did not hit him.
I don't care whether you went like this, because I don't believe you went like this to his forehead. I want you to understand that. Just because you look like a very sweet gal, I don't believe that when he came home, you said to him, honey, you usually don't come home this late. You're an hour and a half late. Where were you?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You were screaming and you were yelling and he called you a foul name. You came back into the room and you gave him a clop in the forehead, right? And as a result of giving him a clop in the head, he got mad and he tore up the place instead of tearing your head off.
While my children were there.
Well, you chose to hit him when your children were there, madam. Don't you think that your children heard it when you were screaming at him, where have you been so late?
I was not screaming at him.
Please. Grow up. I'm not stupid.
I wasn't even able to press assault charges.
Listen to me very carefully, madam.
He ruined my couch, my TV.
I don't care. He didn't ruin your head. You hit him close. You struck him first. He reacted by damaging your property. That was bad temper. The fact that he's got a foul mouth is also not a good thing. You say, with my children there? With your children there, you started it with him. He reacted badly. He's got a bad temper, but you started it. You started the screaming. He didn't. And if you didn't like the fact that he was out until 12:30 in the morning, you should have scooped up your children and left. Do you understand? I'm not interested in the hearing.
But my older...
Goodbye!
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy saw through her little act.
The emotional stress that I've been through in the last year has been... I mean, you can't put a price on it.
Truth came out, I guess.
I've never had anybody put their hands on me like he did that night.
Well, I know I lost my temper.
He had his hands around my neck, and I was trying to protect myself.
It's been 9 months since I've had any contact with her at all. I wish she'd just leave it alone.
Don't move in with someone until you are married.
Be careful.
Or you've spent a lot of time with them.
Vindictive woman.
And don't...